Hello and welcome to Undercommon Taste. This is a podcast where we create and discuss homebrew content for tabletop RPGs.
We've had one apocalypse, sure, but what about second apocalypse?
Dinner? Supper?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Revelation?
We've both had a day and it is just
Yes.
going to our heads. I'm Ian Woodworth. I'm joined by my co-host James Daly, and today we are kind of silly.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can rein it in.
No.
Just a little bit.
It's rained a bunch. We already have a flood warning. No more rain. We're done.
So today we are going to be talking a little bit more about my game that I've been working on for forever. Working title is Postapocalyptia.
Hey, we got it in this episode.
I know, right? I may or may not change it as it reaches conclusion, but that's been the working title for a while now.
Untitled document.
Yeah. And so today we're going to talk about some of the basic mechanics of the game, some of the iterations that it has gone through as it has progressed, and some of the lessons that I have learned with regards to dice mechanics and resolution mechanics and what have you in my time going through the different iterations of this game. And also some of the other ideas that I may have and some of the things that I'm not really happy about yet and that I'm still working on ironing out the kinks of. It's going to be a whole bunch of shop talk today.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So to start off with, I think I need to talk a little bit about where this game came from, how I started working on this in the first place. So this game started as my hack of Pavel Dambowski's hack of Jason McCall's unpublished Fallout pen and paper RPG.
I was going to say, when a daddy game creator and a mommy game get together during an apocalypse and you're locked in because of a pandemic, that's where games come from.
When a game designer gets told he can't publish his game because Bethesda bought the IP.
Right. See, it's kind of like an apocalypse.
Yeah. And so if I remember correctly from everything that I've read online, the Fallout pen and paper game did eventually get published as the game Deadlands.
Okay.
It ended up going through some more edits and some more changes, and it was the precursor to the game that is now out called Deadlands. It's a Weird West sort of game. So basically they had to file the serial numbers off of it to make sure that it was unfallout enough to where they weren't going to get sued over it.
The vault liver.
Yeah. So Pavel Dembowski is or at least was the individual in charge of, I think it's called The Vault, which was the preeminent Fallout game wiki online, to the point where lore people at Bethesda would get in touch with him when they had lore questions.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, so he did a revision and a publication of these games called the what was it? The Wasteland Survival Guide, I think is what he called it.
Okay.
After the book in the Fallout games.
Okay.
And I found it whenever I was in college and I loved the idea of it, but so many of the rules were so off the wall and so crunchy to the point of not being fun.
Yeah, I remember when you first got in the rule book, we were at a friend's house and I was sitting out back de-peopling because it was peoply, and you were discussing like just all of the minutia because it was a very crunchy and chunky rule set. I love tables, but it was D100 after D100 after D100 with modifiers.
Yeah.
And it was just like, ooh, that's going to be rough. I'll check it out, but that's rough.
Yeah. So the mechanic that really made me decide, okay, I need to figure out a way to simplify this, was the mechanic that they had for what's called burst attacks, which are automatic weapon fire. And the way that it was set up in the game is that, see here, you take the range from 100 to 100 minus your weapon score. So if you have a weapon score of 60 with the weapon that you're using, it is going to be in the range of 100 to 40. And you roll your D100 and you're trying to get between 100 and 40. If you do that, you get to start hitting things.
Okay.
If you roll below that, everything just misses. But if you roll between 100 and 40 on this with your 60 score, you get to hit things.
Okay.
And then whatever the roll result is, that is what percentage of the shots fired with that burst hit their intended target.
Now, see, listening to this, I see two things real fast. One, this sounds a little bit like Thaco, and it also sounds very not exactly, but a lot closer to the hit and wound rules for Warhammer. And so I can see kind of again with that where things were going. But again, that is really clunky. And unless you are doing something super intensive, like if you get a bunch of Warhammer players on the table and they are going to be your absolute rule nerds. And I mean, they are all literally there with their rulers and their laser pens because that's how the game is played and they are there for it. And it's a lot of fun and it can be a lot of fun. But if you get your casual tabletop players that maybe do like 5e or that are just heaven forbid a brand spanking new player, you're going to lose them in 15 minutes time and they're going to have no clue what's going to go on, and the likelihood of their return is lower. Again, those rules extensive games are great fun and I enjoy the heck out of them, but I also know that I am part of a more niche population that do. And so, as a game creator, you do always need to be very, very mindful of your audience and who that target audience is.
Yeah. And so, just to wrap up real quick, your initial target gets hit with the percentage you rolled of those bullets.
Okay.
And then the next legal target, basically, in the line or cone of fire, gets hit with that percentage of the remaining bullets. And that keeps going until you either run out of legal targets or you run out of bullets.
Okay, so for that, if I shot a 10 bullet burst, I'm keeping tens because, as we'll discuss, 10 is a nice, easy number a lot of us can deal with. And say I roll my 6, so I have 60% of my shots hit. That means I have 4 bullets that'll go to the next
target, and then there would be 60% of that, which would round up to 3.
Round up to 3. Okay, so then 3 would go to the next, which would be 2, and then 1 to
and then
any other person.
Would go to the next, whatever the next thing in line would be.
And if you're sitting there with a character spraying minigun rounds and you're just spray and pray, that makes sense. And again, that is I can appreciate the depth and accuracy they went with the rule set of that. Most people aren't going to follow that.
And the problem is that they based this off of the calculations that were happening in the video game, in Fallout 3 video game, or in whichever Fallout they were basing this off of. This may have actually still been like Fallout 2, Fallout Tactics.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like Fallout 2.
But the issue with that is,
we're not computers, man.
The computer is doing the math for you in a video game.
Yes.
And whenever I reached that particular mechanic, that was the thing that said, no, I have to simplify this.
Absolutely.
And that put me on a 15-year process of slowly... Now, I haven't been working on it constantly. I mean, I'll work on it for a while, then I'll put it down, and I'll come back to it like a year and a half later and be like, oh, hey, where did I leave off on this?
Oh, look, my sandwich.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, my sandwich is all moldy. I have to start over again. Because another part of it is that as I have been working on it, and whenever I set it down, I still keep playing other games. And so I keep seeing other ways of doing things. I keep expanding my palette. I keep learning more game mechanic stuff and learning new ways to do, conflict resolution and to randomize things and to adjudicate things. So whenever I come back after I've let the game sit for a while, I realize that, the way that I have done this part of the game, is very clunky and not very fun. And so I need to change it and simplify it. And so, yeah, the game started as a D100 system because it was based off of Fallout. It worked for a very long time as a Fallout pen and paper game. And then when Modifius came out with the Fallout 2D20, basically that was the moment where the universe gave me permission to change this, to decouple it from the Fallout IP, because there was already an official one, and so there's no need for an unofficial one now.
Right.
And so it was the permission that I needed to really decouple it from Fallout and to do my own thing with it.
And that's nice when the universe packs that up and hands it to you sometimes. And sometimes that's just what you need. But then too, again, I think that is, it's not a keystone to a lot of tabletop gaming, but it is definitely a cornerstone, I'll say. It doesn't make or break the game, but a lot of the game is founded on what kind of dice system, or are you going to use a dice system at all to have the mechanics of the game actually run and function. And depending on, again, how clunky or how minute, I think that's one thing a lot of players, when they sit down and start throwing their math rocks, they're just, hey, okay, well, whatever math rock I need, they throw it. And they don't go into the depth of the design of when the person's writing the game, like what percentages do they want to fall? So again, a D100 is a 1%, a D10 is going to be 10%, a D20 is a 5%, a D6 is 17% per any given roll. So like, how frequently do you want a success, or how frequently do you want various options to appear? And that kind of mechanics of a game, to consider that and work on that does require a special kind of critter most days.
Yeah. So to start off, I think we'll start off by talking about the character creation and how I've come up with my stat spreads and my attributes and what have you, and how I calculated everything that is all of my derived stats.
Okay.
So to start off with the primary attributes, because it started off as Fallout, and Fallout has 7 stats with special, strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. I started from that point as well, and I actually ended up expanding it into 8 attributes. You have 4 that are basically physical. You got brawn, deft, quick, and tough. They all had much longer names at one point, and I just decided, you know what? These all need to be short.
Yeah.
And so brawn is physical strength, anything that involves lifting or pushing or swinging or throwing, or anything that needs big, beefy muscles. That's all brawn stuff. And tough is your endurance. It is your physical hardiness. It's your ability to, take damage, to resist effects, to resist poison, to resist heat and cold. All of the things that are trying to break you down, it is your ability to resist all of that. And then the other 2, deft and quick, they came from my ongoing belief that dexterity does too much.
Okay.
So deft is your manual dexterity and fine motor skills. It's your ability to do fiddly things with your hands.
Okay.
Quick is your balance and agility. It is your ability to run fast. It's ability to maintain your balance, to jump, to dodge. It is your quickness and your lightness on your feet.
Gotcha. So deft would be like your sleight of hand, your lock picking, your knot tying.
Yes.
While your quickness would be your ability to run an obstacle course.
Yeah, quick would be your acrobatics skill.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're talking for a D&D reference. Yeah, it always bothered me that all of that was bound together under the same stat.
Yeah, because those are 2 very different skill sets in life.
Yes. And I have known plenty of people with high deft and low quick. And
Yes.
I've known several people with low deft and high quick.
Fair.
Like, I know plenty of people who, they paint miniatures and, do all this very intricate jewelry making or knitting or crochet, do all of these little crafty things with their hands, but they fall over on flat ground.
Absolutely. Inversely, you could have like a running back is going to have a whole bunch of quick. They're going to be able to keep their balance. They're fast. They're nimble. But holding onto a football is probably the extent of their motor dexterity.
Probably. I mean, they could have high in both. You
And they
could
could
have
have
high
high
in
in both,
both.
yeah, but not necessarily.
Yeah, but having a high score in one is definitely more useful for what they're trying to do than the other.
Yes.
And then after that, there are four I've just called the mental stats, even though it doesn't really fit very well as mental with all of them. But the other four are alert, logic, luck, and poise. So alert is your ability to perceive and react to the outside world. It's your reaction time. It is your senses. It is your ability to keep tabs on your environment. It's your proprioception.
And we have found my dump stat.
So this would basically be the wisdom score.
Yes.
Logic is your intellect. It's your capacity for learning. It's your ability to recall information. It's intelligence.
Yeah.
Luck is luck. Luck does weird things in this game. It does things like affect your critical hit chance, and you can spend luck points to re-roll things. It has changed a lot since the early iterations of the game. It used to be whenever it was still a D100 system, your luck stat determined your critical hit and critical miss ranges.
Okay.
So the bigger your luck score was, the bigger your critical hit range and the smaller your critical miss range.
Okay, I like that. Luck is it's always a challenge to figure out a mechanical way to determine, hey, the universe likes you. That's a hard one. It's normally a challenge, but I think having it straight affect percentages or maybe give you a flat number of re-rolls per however much time period chunk you need, I think is a good way to tackle that.
And I think, I'm going to have to review because it's been a hot minute since I have looked at this part of the rule set.
Okay.
And I can't remember which iteration I am on for luck. So I don't want to say too much about how I'm using luck, but I think the way that I had it set up is you can burn luck to change a critical failure into a miss into a hit, or a hit into a crit.
Okay.
You can burn luck to shift your success rate one level up, basically.
Okay.
But we'll get to that eventually. Maybe not even in this episode, but we will get to that eventually.
We'll get there at one point.
Yeah. And before we forget, the last attribute is poise. Poise is your force of personality. It's charisma. It's your ability to influence the behavior of other people. But it's also your self-control.
Yeah.
It's your ability to control your own impulses.
So this tied in with what would be will or wisdom as well within D&D. So yeah, poise has a lot. This covers a lot of traits, and one thing that definitely needs to be addressed also. So this one, I don't want to say it feels like a catch-all because it doesn't, but again, this does dip its toes into stat. It is the social stat, yes. It's the social stat as well as, again, as you said, the self-control, which would normally be will or wisdom. So again, it has its toes in a couple different ponds. But I like that it's there.
Yeah. And that was the way that I found that it best fit, is by making it that sort of sense of self.
Yeah.
And that almost that sense of confidence.
Yes.
That being, that's why it's called poise. It's that self-confidence, that ability to exude authority almost.
Right.
That ability to establish that, yes, I am supposed to be here. I have that special gravity of a person. I have that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Talking back about that game.
Yeah, dude, that was such a fun game.
That was.
Now, I will offer a life lesson for my listeners, and one I offer to my students very frequently as well. Charisma often just comes down to confidence. And if you're going to be wrong, if you're confidently wrong, people will think you know what the hell you're talking about anyway. So again, yeah, poise and having that internal, like, even if you're insecure or uncertain, you come across confident and just like you have that self-confidence again, and that does come across as a force of will that will make people who are more likely to waver follow you regardless, be it in game or in real life. That one does translate almost one-to-one.
So with regards to all of these attributes, I have 4 different ways that you can assign your attributes. The first way is the boring way, and it's the standard array. So because all of these stats can be on a scale from 1 to 10, standard array is you have a 3, a 4, 2 5s, 2 6s, a 7, and an 8. And you just assign them as you will.
That gives you a total of 44, correct?
I think.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've done that math.
Okay.
So that's the first one. And with that, because there are modifiers whenever your stats hit a certain range. So from 1 to 3 is a +0, 4 to 7 is a +1, and 8 to 10 is a +2.
Okay.
Those ranges may shift once I get to a point where I'm doing actual play testing and we decide that maybe some bigger numbers might help with smoothing out the experience.
Okay.
But as it is right now, basically 4 to 7 is a +1, 8 to 10 is a +2. So what this standard array gives you, you have one stat that's going to give you a +0, one stat that's going to give you a +2, and everything else is going to give you a +1.
Okay.
It's a very balanced sort of play style, and you assign them based on what you want to do, because this isn't a class-based system. It is a piece together doing what you want and make sure you put your stats where you want them to do the things you want to do. And then you just buy the skills that correspond with your desired play style, and you build out a character that way.
Makes sense.
So anyway, that's the first way, standard array. Second one is point buy. You start off with a score of 1 in everything, and you get 35 points to put in 1-to-1 to just build up your stats. You can't make anything higher than a 10.
Okay, and that gives you 43 there.
Yes, because you start off with 8.
Right.
With a 1 in everything, and then 35 to throw at everything. Then we get to the fun ones. The first one is Lady Luck. You roll 8d10. Each roll result is an attribute score. You assign it to the attribute that you want it to be.
Okay.
And if your total for your 8 dice is less than 30, you get to re-roll all of them.
Okay. And again, looking at a D10, your average is going to be a 5.5. And so with 8 of those, you should average about
44.
On average, 44. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is Lord of Chaos.
Chaos
where,
Voodoo.
Yes. So it's like Lady Luck, except you assign your stats in the order you roll them.
I like it. I would probably roll that one just for the lulz.
And again, you get to re-roll everything if the total comes out to 30 or less.
Now, see, I like this one because you earn your luck stat.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be lucky to get a good luck stat. I like it.
So that's the primary attributes.
Okay.
Next up are the secondaries. These are all of the derived attributes, the things that you calculate based off of what you have to start with. First up are action points. So you get a pool of action points that you can use to basically do extra things on your turn, do extra actions on your turn. And your starting action point pool is your tough attribute plus its modifier.
Okay.
So it's your endurance, really, because you're drawing from that extra reserve to do more stuff. You're pushing your body to do extra things. So it's not about how quick you are, it's about how hard you can push yourself to do more stuff.
So this is just your overall stamina.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of. Stamina is its own thing.
It is, but it's your ability to continue taking actions when you're tired or otherwise. I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're talking about actions or movements per turn, that gets kind of difficult, especially when you want to tie it to a stat, because if I do something quick, I can do more things. And again, too, if I have more endurance, then I might be slow, but slow and steady wins the race and I can get more stuff done. Or if I'm just strong, picking up a 20-pound block for a strong person is not going to be the same as picking up a 20-pound block for, say, a 5-year-old. That's going to wear out that 5-year-old much quicker. And so that can get difficult into where a creator wants to make that actually affect or take hold within their game system.
Yeah. So you have that pool. You can recover half of them after a breather, which is the equivalent of a short rest. It's like taking half an hour to just catch your breath, recover, have a drink, have a snack, patch your wounds, all of that.
Gotcha.
And then you recover more based on how long the rest is. So if you complete a short rest, which would be the equivalent of a long rest in D&D, so it's 8 hours, make camp, sleep the night, and get up and go in the morning, you get most of them back. And if you do a long or extended rest, which is at least 24 hours in a town, you get everything back.
Okay. Now I like this. This is the one thing where I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit on this.
Uh-huh.
But as we have our skills and our traits that can modify things, this would be a trait I would build as perhaps you can have a trait that might, instead of tough plus your tough modifier for your action points, it might be tough plus your strength modifier or tough plus your quick modifier. And that way you can kind of account for that difference in activity based on the player's physical type or stats that way. And if they want to, use the point or use the ability slot to take that, they could. And again, that way you could cover all of those different variances as well.
Yeah. The lists of traits and perks have not yet been fully populated.
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to finalize the rules before I start adding in more before I start adding in more character customization stuff.
Fair.
I need to make sure that the base game works before I start adding ways to doctor your character.
Fair. Okay.
But yeah, those are some ideas that I have had to accommodate for different kinds of characters. So like even, making it be add your alert modifier to it.
Okay.
Because if you're very perceptive, if you're able to pick up on all of the different things, you can react faster. And so you have the ability to, react to a new condition
yeah.
and, pick up and do more things that way.
Okay.
There are ways to customize that will be added in going forward. So the next secondary attribute is avoidance. Now, this is going back to another gripe that I have with the way that combat works in D&D is that armor class is both how well you can avoid being hit and how hard you can be hit without it hurting.
Yes.
And that has always bugged me. And so I have split that up into two separate things.
Okay.
The first one is avoidance. It's your ability to not be hit.
This is your neener can't touch me.
Yeah. So this is the benchmark that if someone attacks you, they have to meet or beat this number in order to actually hit you.
Okay.
And your base avoidance is your alert score plus your quick score divided by 2. So it's the average of your alert and your quick.
I like that. Now, again, too, talking about Warhammer, this kind of goes into that, too. I know a lot of your miniatures, and with Warhammer, you actually have 3 rolls per attack. You've got, your dodge or your avoidance. Do you get hit? And then you've got your armor roll. So how much of that, does your armor deflect or shrug off? And then, okay, well, it got to the armor, but did it actually hurt you? And so you have a wound roll. And so for, like I said, within Warhammer, you actually have 3 rolls for that, which is a lot. So I think 2 is probably a better number.
Yeah, and I do have this boiled down to be basically 2 rolls because all of that in my system is accounted based off of the damage roll.
Okay.
So the avoidance is, do you get hit? And then the damage roll is calculated with the other stuff to figure out how badly you get hurt. Or
yes,
do you get hurt?
You punch the knight in the armor with your bare fist. Yes, you hit them, but did you hurt them? Did you get through their armor? Probably not.
So I'm going to skip a little bit ahead to talk about this because it is right here.
It is current.
So there are two secondary stats that are relevant here.
Okay.
The first one is your damage resistance. Damage resistance is your damage reduction. It's if you get hit, certain amount of damage just comes off the top of whatever the damage roll is. That is what your damage resistance is. You start off with a damage resistance or a DR of 0. By default, you can't just shrug off a bullet.
Generally
no. The primary way you get DR is by putting on armor.
As one does.
As one does. And that's also how you primarily get damage threshold, or DT, which is the other one that I'm going to talk about. And the more armor you wear, the higher your damage threshold gets. And if you have certain, high quality armors, you start to get damage resistance, or DR. But as those stats go up, wearing armor also lowers your avoidance, because it's harder to move when you're wearing a bunch of armor.
Right.
And so
Makes
you're
sense.
easier to hit, but harder to hurt.
Just think, like, if you're, what's the scene from A Christmas Story where they wrap the little brother with like 20 layers of snow clothes and he can't put his
Yes.
arms down? Yeah, and he sits there and he falls over and he's starfishing on the ground. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
Like, he'd have a ton of kinetic resistance because, I mean, yeah, if the bully walked up and punched him, to be like punching a pillow. He's not going to feel a thing. He can't move, though.
Right. Yeah. And so damage threshold is how hard you have to be hit before your armor doesn't protect you anymore.
Okay.
So you'll have a damage threshold granted by your whatever armor you happen to be wearing. Let's say, just for instance, a damage threshold of 3.
Okay.
So if you have a damage threshold of 3, then any attack that deals 3 damage or more deals full damage to you. But if it would deal 2 damage or less, it deals half damage, because your armor is soaking it.
I like that. That makes sense.
And so you can get your damage thresholds up pretty high depending on what armors you're wearing. So let's say getting up to a threshold of 8 or 10. You get up to a damage threshold of 10, you're going to be taking half damage from just about everything, short of critical hits.
And a nuke.
And a nuke. Yeah, a lot of your explosive weapons are going to deal a lot more damage than that, but those are intended to be quite rare and dangerous to the user.
Okay.
So things that I want to try and avoid, games where someone is just chucking grenades at everything.
Yeah. You just make them expensive.
Yeah. Or expensive and rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how that works. So your starting damage threshold is half of your tough attribute rounded down.
Okay.
So if you're wearing that 3 DT armor and you have a base tough score of 6, then you actually have a DT of 6, because it's half your tough, which is 3, plus the 3 from your armor is 6. So it does add up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Which allows me to not have to get really big numbers on the armors, and that way I can limit the number of armors that there are to do game balance stuff with.
That sounds reasonable too. And again, keeping numbers easy for the creators, never a bad idea.
So backtracking a little bit, carry limit. Carry limit represents the amount of stuff you can carry without hampering your abilities.
Now, see, carry limit in a game's ambitious, and in a video game, it's great. In a tabletop game, I have seen very few games where the carry limit is actually employed or remembered, even.
And
so I think...
And the only reason why it is in here is because this is intended to be sort of a post-apocalyptic survival type game, where the things that you carry are relevant.
That makes sense.
And the decisions that you make about what you are carrying are relevant.
Important. Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, are you going to pack yourself down with water because you've got a long way to go? Or do you want to pick up that bag of coins that weighs, 10 pounds of money or 10 pounds of water? Which are you carrying? And that can be a very critical question sometimes.
Yeah. So your carry limit is your brawn plus your tough.
Okay.
And then your max carry limit is twice that amount.
So what happens to a character between those two?
That is where the encumbrance rules come in.
Okay. You cannot fast travel, you are encumbered.
Yes. You cannot run, you are encumbered. So yeah, that is another topic for another day, because
yes.
that comes into the conversation of carry limit versus capacity. So carry limit is your ability, how much stuff you can carry physically. Capacity is how much room for stuff you have. So capacity is determined by the containers you are carrying.
Okay.
So you can have a steamer trunk that has a capacity of 20. You're not going to be able to carry 20 capacity worth of stuff if your carry limit is 8.
Yes.
That's the sort of things that it, you
Okay.
know, and figuring that out. That's another one of those things where I really need to do some playtesting and figure out, is this system too clunky? Does it make sense?
You really need to read Dungeon Crawler, Carl. You really need to read it.
Yeah, I know
This is one of the things they tackle early, but yes.
it's on my list of
Yes.
stuff. You're not going to get a horse pocket in this game. You can't keep your horse in your horse pocket.
Oh, but I rolled for
So,
kangaroo.
so the next thing on the list is rad resist. This is a holdover from Fallout.
Yeah,
This
I
is
would change this to chemical or environmental resist, maybe, since we're picking a bunch of different apocalypses.
right. Well, I've left it as rad resist because it is short.
Okay.
I may just end up shortening it to resistance, but that would also require me to change damage resistance to something else, like
Right.
maybe damage reduction.
Like I said, if you made this like environmental resist, then it could cover things like chemicals, it could cover radiation, it could cover extreme heat, it could cover extreme cold, it could
Right.
cover yeah, so I think environmental resist works well. And I mean environment versus rad, that's only a couple extra letters. I don't think it's going to be too chunky.
Environment is a whole lot longer than rad.
It's a couple
Environment is
extra
like 10
letters.
letters.
How many
But
letters in the total rulebook, Ian? You've got a word count, and I'm sure it's got a average character per word.
yeah, well, I mean, because the way that I have it set up, the mechanic
Call
for
it
rad.
e-resist. There, done. I just saved you 2 whole characters by switching to Geico.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll fight with that one later.
Um, but yeah, I think I may just change this to resistance
Okay.
and change damage resistance to damage reduction to keep the acronym the same.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the way that I have the house rules for radiation set up. You pick up a certain number of rads per round if you are in an area of high radiation. And once you have accrued a certain amount based off of your rad resist score, once you've accumulated that many, you start losing max stamina points.
Yeah.
And then you start losing other things. It's radiation poisoning is what it is.
And I think again, depending on however you want to name this, you can. But if you make this like an environmental resist or E instead of rad resistance, you have your E resist or your environment or whatever.
But that's exactly why I'm going to probably change it to just resistance.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
Because then it doesn't matter what you're resisting. It is whatever the resistance thing that you have to resist is.
Yeah, your environmental whatever. And so yeah, I'm saying this works with that because you can just mirror it 1-to-1, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like the system's good, the name doesn't fit, but that's
well, the name is a holdover from a time when it did work.
Yes,
and it just hasn't changed yet.
Right.
Yeah, and that starts off as just your equal to your tough score. So the higher your tough score, the more you could resist.
I like it.
So next up is sequence.
Honestly, actually go back with this with your resist. I think I do like the tough. I think and maybe it's a special attribute later, but poise could also, because if you're talking with that inner strength and your just ability to mind over matter things, I think this could fall under poise really well also.
No, not really, because it is pure physicality.
Okay.
It is because whenever, as you accrue the stuff that is going to hurt you, it reduces your stamina score.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
It is purely physical. It has nothing to do with mind over matter.
Okay.
Cancer doesn't care how positive you are.
No, but how you react to the chemotherapy does.
That is true. But, that is more of a treatment thing than a response to the actual physical stimulus.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
All right, so next up is your sequence. And this is something that, now that I've played Nimble, I might be changing this.
Ooh, okay.
So your base sequence value is your combined modifiers for alert and quick. How quickly you notice things and how quickly you physically react to them.
Okay.
And so you would roll sequence at the beginning of combat. You roll a d10, you add your sequence modifier. It functions like initiative in
Yeah.
D&D. And now that I have played Nimble and I see how they do it in Nimble, I think I might adjust that because I also have, each turn has a certain number of actions in it. Have it set up in such a way that sequence just affects how many actions you can take on your first turn,
Okay.
the way that Nimble does it.
Okay.
I'll have to play with that a little bit, but I
I
think
like
that
that.
would.
Now, again, Nimble gives you a flat. For those that don't recall, we did Nimble our last episode, and Nimble gives each character 3 actions per turn flat, but those actions and reactions are not necessarily taken on the character's turn. You can use them during your ally's turn or your opponent's turn to react to the environment, but when it comes around to your turn, whatever reactions you've taken are subtracted from your pool of 3. And so if an enemy is attacking a friend and you try to like push your friend out of the way as a reaction, that would be one of your 3 actions. So if you did that, when your turn comes around, now you only have 2 actions to move or attack or do whatever else.
Yeah. All right. Next up is your speed. This is how far you can move in a turn.
Okay.
I am leaving all of these as number of spaces rather than trying to translate it to distances.
Okay.
Because I just feel like it is easier just to count squares or count hexes as opposed to trying to convert it to math.
Math bad. Boo. No, math not bad, but I get it.
Math slows things down.
I'm here to throw math rocks, not do actual
Yeah.
math.
So your base speed is 4.
Okay.
So by default, as a standard move action, you can move 4 spaces.
Okay. 1
And
potato, 2
then-
potato, 3 potato, 4.
And then you get to add your tough modifier and your choice of either brawn or quick,
Okay.
so that your maximum speed is 8. So if you have a +2 in brawn and a +2 in tough, you can do that and you have a max speed of 8.
Okay. Now, do you have to declare what that is? Like, does that stay the same or can you change it on a whim? Like, if a character, and I always used my quick modifier, and now I'm running through glue for whatever reason, can I'm like, well, this time because I've got a negative to my quick modifier, I'm going to use brawn now, or do I have to pick at the start? Well, I'm always going to use quick. I'm always going to use brawn.
Well, I don't think that there's going to be any instance where your movement speed being hampered is going to care which one you're using.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
Because I feel like a character using brawn and a character using quick are going to approach that difficult terrain in different ways.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. And is it open for the character to switch between the two nimbly depending on whatever the situation is, or do they have to pick one and stick with it?
You're going to pick whichever one gives you the biggest score.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that can change with the environment versus
no,
the
it's
player.
not going to change with the environment.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, fair. Okay.
Yeah, there is no instance where the environment is going to diminish your speed based on which stat you use to build your speed.
Okay, fair.
So yes, that is the answer to your question. It
Perfect.
doesn't matter. You take the one big number, go zoom.
I like zoom. Zoom good.
All right. And then the last of the secondary attributes is your stamina. We've been talking about this a little bit. This is effectively your hit points. This is how I do this rather than having hit points, because hit points is such a weird abstraction, because hit points don't matter until you run out of them. And like a character at 100 hit points and a character at 1 hit point are still equally threatening and equally viable on the table in a hit point system. And so I wanted to avoid that a little bit. So your stamina is how well you can endure combat before taking actual physical harm.
Okay.
So as long as you still have stamina, if you take stamina damage is your close calls. It's your ability to avoid actually getting hurt. It is those heroic actions that you're taking to get out of the way so that you don't actually get shot.
So these act kind of like temporary hit points in D&D?
Kind of.
Okay.
So you start off with 5 plus your tough attribute stamina. As you do things that would hurt you, your stamina is gradually reduced. When your stamina hits 0, you start taking damage to your tough. And when your tough hits 0, you die.
You did.
And with tough damage, if you take tough damage, that's going to affect a lot of things. It's going to affect how much stamina you recover. It's going
Okay.
to affect how many action points you recover. It's going to affect your carry limit. See here, it's going to affect your speed.
Yeah.
Because if you take enough tough damage, your modifier will go down, and so you will lose speed.
I like this mechanic, and this feels like the old school stat drains from like second and third edition
Right.
D&D. I
And
like this. I think this is kind of what they were going for and kind of lost in the weeds, but I like how this works.
yeah. And so stamina recovers quickly. Tough does not.
Yeah.
Tough, you have to actually take long rests in town and get medical attention to recover tough.
Right. So, like stamina, you can run and dodge a bunch. You know, you can get into a scuffle, and if you've ever done like wrestling as like athletic sport or MMA or anything like that, 2 or 3 minutes and you're winded and you are out of breath, and that would be your stamina damage. But if you've ever torn like a hamstring or rolled an ankle or broken an arm, that would be tough damage, and that definitely limits what you can do, and it takes a lot longer and a lot more effort to heal.
Right. And so you would regain stamina equal to your tough score after finishing a breather. So that's that very short rest.
Okay.
And then you recover all of your stamina after finishing a short rest or longer. So if you sleep the night, when you wake up, you have all of your stamina back.
Okay.
But the thing about tough damage is because your maximum stamina is 5 plus your tough, if you take tough damage, your maximum stamina is also reduced. So you have less stamina to work with.
Yeah, you're not going to be as nimble or jumping around again if you've rolled your ankle or torn a hammy. Yeah, you're not going to be as nimble to get out of the way, and you're going to run out of juice faster because you're kind of compensating for that injury. Now, what do you have to do to recover that tough stat?
That is
Pending?
no, that
Okay.
you recover. See here, I can't remember. You recover 1 tough for each day of long rest that you take.
Okay.
So a long rest is 24 hours.
Okay.
And it has to be done in a settlement. It has to be done somewhere where you can sit down and rest and focus on recovery. And,
Okay, I like that.
And you can't do anything else.
Okay, so this would be like your D&D downtime. You actually have to spend the downtime, and you can't
Recovering,
do all.
yes.
Yeah, and you can't like do all your little other side missions and chop. Nope, you're in bed. You're convalescing. No,
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. That's good.
Yeah, and there's also what is called an extended rest. An extended rest is at least 7 days, and extended rests are what you have basically between story arcs.
Okay.
So, like, you'll have a story arc that you'll do whenever you finish everything and you get back to town. Then you get to have an extended rest where you spend all of your experience points to learn new skills, and you fix all of your gear and you recover all of your stuff. And that's where you can recover all of your radiation sickness, or you reduce all of your damage to your resistance. And you can accelerate it a little bit if you have somebody who is proficient with medicine, who can do medicine checks on you while you're taking a long rest. You can recover a little bit faster. But by and large, the only thing that will recover your tough score is rest.
Okay.
So yeah, we have been talking for an hour.
We have. And I think this is a good point if we want to pause here, because we can talk about our skills and traits and quirks on another episode, or perhaps even our next episode.
Yeah.
And I think we've hit a good spot, I think, going through just our attributes and our character generation. I really like what you have. I think a lot of this works well. I think a 1d10 system is a good system. It's half of your D&D D20, but we don't have any of our negative stats to kind of draw things down, which definitely simplifies things. I think all of this is definitely moving in the right direction. I like what you've got so far.
Yeah. And,
except for environmental resistance.
Just to touch on it real quick, with the dice rolling and resolution mechanics, combat has a little bit of a different thing because the target numbers are dependent on what you are attacking. But by and large, anything that is a skill check, there are set benchmark difficulties.
Okay.
And I've got them written down as one set of numbers in the document right now. I had them as a different set previously, and I'm going to be changing them back.
Okay.
Because the math does not work out at the high end the way that they are written right now. So basically the way that it works is you have your different skills, and we'll talk about skills in another episode, but you have a number of ranks in a skill. You can have up to 4 ranks in a skill, and each rank has a certain attribute and level requirement attached to it. Each rank of a skill that you have adds d10s to a dice pool. So if you're wanting to do something with a skill, it starts off as a 1d10, and then you add a number of d10s equal to your rank in that skill. So if you're, say, trying to pick a lock with the finagle skill,
Okay.
and you have 2 ranks in finagle, you start off with a d10 for your base, and then you add 2 d10s to it for your 2 ranks in finagle. So you're having 3 d10s that you're rolling.
Okay.
That is your primary dice pool.
Okay.
Then you look at any perks and traits that you might have. If any of them are relevant to what you're trying to do, then they also add a die to a secondary dice pool. The more generic the bonus, the smaller the die. The more specific the bonus, the bigger the die. So if you have something that is very specific, like let's say you are trying to pick a lock while hidden,
Okay.
that might be a D8 roll or a D10 roll. Whereas if you're just doing a finagle check, that would be a D4 roll.
Okay.
So you take your primary dice pool and you take your secondary dice pool and you roll those 2 dice pools, and then you pick the biggest result from each pool and you add them together.
Okay.
And that is your result.
I have some questions, but I think it would take more time to go into my questions, so that's definitely something we want to tackle. The next time we dive into this, I think it sounds like you're close. Like I said, I have a couple of questions that I might just not be fully comprehending, but it sounds close. Yes.
Yeah. And so the benchmarks that I have that I'm going back to, so an easy check is a difficulty 4, medium is a difficulty 8, hard is a difficulty 12, and an expert is a difficulty 16.
Okay.
And so you're rolling your pool of d10s, and then you're rolling your pool of bonus dice, and you add your attribute modifier on top of that if you have one.
I have ideas, but again, we can address those at a different time, I think. So, like I said, it sounds close. It sounds really, really close. And I think what I'm thinking is not terribly far off, but otherwise we'll get real deep in the woods and we'll be here another hour as we discuss minutia on die rolling.
Yeah, and combat rolls do about the same thing, except you also have to deal with critical hits and critical misses, which involve 10s and 1s, and that definitely is a conversation for another day. But yeah, so there is the attributes for character creation. I understand that not a lot of games are going to have 8 attributes, and that even D&D only has 6. I understand that that is a lot of numbers. But for the type of game that I am wanting to make, each one of those numbers is important for its own reason.
Yes.
And I feel like it would be oversimplification, and not necessarily oversimplification, but it would dilute the impact of what you're trying to do if I combined any of these.
I agree. And like I said, I think where you're moving right now, it's a good method. This will not be a rules light game by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not intended to be a rules light game.
It's not going to be Warhammer either. And I think, honestly, the way you're going, this looks like this will be a little... I want to say this might be less clunky than 5e. 5e is pared down quite a bit, but even still, some of the implementation is not necessarily smooth. And I think... Like I said, I really think that this is headed in a good direction.
Yeah, I definitely want it to be simpler to run than 5e.
Yeah.
I am taking a bit of inspiration from Cypher with with the resolution mechanics and what have you, because Cypher is one of those games that looks more complicated than it is. And I am fine with my game looking complicated if once you get into it and start actually playing it and rolling dice, you realize that it really isn't that complicated.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it looking complex, and then you get in and you're like, oh, this is just these three things repeated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at mentally with regards to this game right now.
Okay.
I'm fine with it not being rules light. It was never intended to be rules light. I never wanted it, and I'm never going to make it rules light. That's just where it is. I like games with a little bit of crunch and a little bit of rules that I can figure out loopholes to get around and do crazy things.
Yeah.
But I also want it to be to where the things that I want to do are simple and intuitive, to the point where I know that this is just going to be a die roll, and that what I want to do is going to be behind the gate of this is the difficulty of the check you need to succeed on, as opposed to these are the skills that you have to have in order to even attempt it.
Right. No,
So,
I like it.
yeah. Or, you can't do that because that is this other class's job.
Yeah.
You can't cast healing magic as a wizard. That's the
Right.
cleric's job. So things like that, that's another part of the reason why I decided to make this a classless game, to where
A classless society. Oh wait, that's different.
that is different. But I wanted it to be set up in such a way that you could literally just grab any three skills and just have a character that does a very specific thing, and that very specific thing is the specific thing that is fun for you.
Okay.
So, anyway, I'm rambling now.
A little bit, but that's okay.
That's the basics of the game so far. If you have any comments, suggestions, or ideas, send us an email under commontaste@gmail.com, or come and join us on our Discord. You can find a link to the Discord through our website under commontaste.com. You can find a link there also to our itch page under commontaste.itch.io, and the Patreon that I am slowly deprecating, patreon.com/undercommontaste.
To our new listeners, welcome. To our returning listeners, welcome back. You can find our other episodes where we're going over the rules of Apocalyptia. You can find our lore deep dives or our conversations with other game creators. Just look up Under Common Taste on your podcatcher of choice.
So I finally have someone beta testing All Is Well With My Soul.
Nice.
So hopefully that will get wrapped up and get put up on our itch store. I think probably in time for our anniversary.
Excellent.
So beginning of September.
Okay.
Speaking of, we are in the process of organizing a one-shot. It may end up being a two-shot because our anniversary is going to be on Terrasmus.
Oh, yay.
It is September 9th. That will be 6 years of Under Common Taste. That is going to be episode 199.
Oh.
Which means that the following episode on September 23rd will be episode 200.
Woohoo!
And so we're organizing a one-shot. We still haven't even decided what game we're going to play yet. But I have gotten people who have agreed to do it.
Okay.
I'm not saying who they are until we actually get details nailed down and we get closer to time of us actually playing. Because schedule happens.
Yes.
And I don't want to have a repeat of our attempted collab of Mice and Men and Monsters that ended up falling through because someone had a baby, and then the school year started back up and things fell apart.
How dare they have children?
Everybody.
Those monsters.
I know.
And mice and men. Oh, wait.
So anyway, thank you all so much for listening. Stay safe, everyone, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Happy gaming.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Under Common Taste. Our theme song is Massacre Ann, written and performed by Mary Kroll and used with permission. You can find Mary online at marykroll.bandcamp.com or on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Mary C. Kroll. Our logo is by David Sutherland. You can find more of David's work on deviantart.com/David Sutherland or on instagram.com/Willex_73. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so stay safe, and we'll see you then.